So your friends and family are out of sight now. The minutes seem like hours. You read that magazine right through and you're fed up looking at flowers. So switch on to your friendly station, for we extend our invitation. Hospital Radio, just the tonic. We're on the air just for you.
Hello, I'm Ken Oliver. I'm speaking to you from Wiltshire now, but during the late 60s, 70s, 80s and a bit of the 90s, I was very much involved in Hospital Radio Chelmsford. The song that reminds me of the station is by Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water. It reminds me for all sorts of reasons. Back in those days, of course, everything was played on vinyl records. It was a much used and much loved track, and I seem to remember we had to replace the station copy on more than one occasion because the clicks, bangs and other damage to the record just made it unplayable. Technically, it's a very challenging record in that it has a huge dynamic range, and for those of you who understand these things, you'll realise that from the technical point of view, so you can hear it at your end of the station, we had to do all sorts of clever things to make the levels go up and down. But that's quite an aside. The reason I've really chosen it is because of the words. They are very appropriate, I think, for somebody wanting to make a dedication or request for a loved one in hospital. So, indeed, I hope that over all these years, Hospital Radio Chelmsford has indeed been a bridge over troubled water for many.
This is Hospital Radio Chelmsford.
Hi, this is Mervyn Gamage, and I'm wondering if I'm the only person who joined Hospital Radio Chelmsford because his mates went on holiday. Yeah, back in, I think it was 1972, I was living in a bachelor household in Chelmsford, and the three fellas I lived with all went on holiday, not together, but at the same time, leaving me at a bit of a loss as to what I was going to do. So I went along to the library in Chelmsford to have a look at local organisations to see how I might fill the time, and I discovered Hospital Radio Chelmsford. I went along and offered to do anything that was going, really, including making the tea, making the coffee, and they accepted me. I started off by helping on other people's programmes, but eventually I got my own show. It was called Supper Time Sunday, and the clue's in the name. It went out round about tea time on a Sunday. I think it was about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening. While we were at Hospital Radio Chelmsford in those days, our chairman was Bernard Mulhern, and Bernard had very good contacts in the BBC, and a number of us got the chance to gain some experience on BBC Radio Medway. And that eventually helped me to get a full-time job in the BBC, first at BBC Radio Sheffield, then moving on to Northampton, and then to Radio Stoke. And even after I retired from the BBC, I continued with the interest, now being involved in Moorlands Radio, a community radio station I helped set up in the town where I live. One thing I remember from my time at Hospital Radio Chelmsford was an outside broadcast we did. I'm pretty sure it was from a shop window in the town. And I was very proud because I managed to create my own jingle for the show. Saturday, ever-loving Saturday. Yeah, a little bit of the Carpenters, and as you can guess, that programme was indeed on a Saturday. Well, I'll go back to my show that I had, Supper Time Sunday, and that brings me to my choice of music for today, because this is the theme tune that I used for that programme. It's called Foggy Mountain Breakdown. It's played on synthesizers, which was very trendy in the 70s. I'm not sure it's really stood the test of time, so it'll be interesting to see how long you listen before you turn me off. Anyway, thank you very much to Hospital Radio Chelmsford for getting me launched into a career in broadcasting, and happy birthday to HRC.
This is Hospital Radio Chelmsford. I've been asked to come up with a song that reminds me of my time at Hospital Radio, and there are just so many songs that I could have picked. I did many programmes over my 9 years with the service, covering pretty much every genre of music. And to pick one in particular is so difficult, but that's what they've asked me to do. So I'm going to go with a song that was released in 1983. And the reason I played it, I was on the request show at the time, and I'd collected a request from an elderly lady in one of the wards, and she wanted to hear a hymn. Now, quite often, elderly ladies on hospital wards do ask to hear hymns, and we had albums full of hymns, loads of them. So I rooted dutifully through all these albums to try and find this particular hymn that the lady wanted, and it wasn't on any of our hymn compilations. So I thought, what do I do now? I'll have to play her another song. So I said, on Hospital Radio, this is for Gladys in ward, whichever ward it was, B9, and she's asked if she could have Christ Thy Great Redeemer, but unfortunately we haven't got that one, so here's the new song from the Human League. This is called Fascination. And I played the song, and then the lovely John Walsh said to me, Gavin, next time you have to substitute a request from a listener for something else, why don't you try and pick something that bears a little more resemblance to the song originally chosen?
This is Hospital Radio Chelmsford.